Okay. So one is the US, the second is the UK, and the third is the France. ठीक है. So अभी तक mostly they have asked the question only on these three countries. ठीक है. Next year is also not going to be an exception. You will be getting mostly on these three countries only. अगर इनको इसके बियॉन्ड अगर जाना है तो मोस्टली दे कैन आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू फर्स्ट इज कनाडा, सेकंड जर्मनी, ठीक है, एंड थर्ड फ्रॉम इंडियाज नेबरहुड श्रीलंका और नॉट नेपाल बट ओनली श्रीलंका. ठीक है. अगर बहुत ही रैंडमली इफ दे ट्राई टू आस्क दे कैन गो अप टिल जापान. ठीक है. सो ये चार कंट्रीज के जस्ट यू रीड दी देयर पॉलिटी, नो नीड टू मेक एनी नोट्स. ठीक है. ऑस्ट्रेलिया पूछना बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है. आई डोंट थिंक दे विल आस्क ऑस्ट्रेलिया, बट ठीक है, करना है तो कर लो. ऑस्ट्रेलिया ऑल्सो यू कैन डू. ठीक है. बिकॉज मोस्टली ऑस्ट्रेलिया इज ऑल्सो कि ये जो मेजर मैच्योर डेमोक्रेसीज है वही के प्रोविजंस उनके कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में भी है. दे कैन आस्क ऑस्ट्रेलिया ऑल्सो. सो जब भी आपको टाइम मिले इन 5 मिनट्स जस्ट गो थ्रू देयर पॉलिटी. बट ये तीन कंट्रीज आपको अच्छे से करनी है, यूके, फ्रांस एंड यूएसए. रशिया नहीं पूछेंगे. अथॉरिटेरियन रिजिम्स दे वोंट आस्क, दे विल बी आस्किंग द कंपैरिजन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस. ठीक है. रशिया, चाइना डजंट हैव, आई मीन दे हैव द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस बट उसका कोई पॉइंट नहीं है. साउथ अफ्रीका ऑल्सो पेरिफेरल, पूछ भी सकते हैं, चांसेस कम है. ठीक है. वो- और इनमें इफ यू सी मेजरली व्हाट दे आस्क, either they will be asking you the institution based question or they will be asking you principle based question. ठीक है. इंस्टीट्यूशन मतलब कौन से एग्जीक्यूटिव, लेजिस्लेटिव, जुडिशियरी. ठीक है. एंड प्रिंसिपल मतलब दे कैन आस्क यू विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू इक्वालिटी, सेक्युलरिज्म. ठीक है. इसके बियॉन्ड दे कैन ऑल्सो गो विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू लिबर्टी, बट अगेन लिबर्टी में इतने ज्यादा पॉइंट्स बनेंगे नहीं, सो दे वोंट आस्क. बट जस्टिस पे दे कैन आस्क. ठीक है. बट द मेजर इज दिस एग्जीक्यूटिव, लेजिस्लेटिव, जुडिशियरी. ठीक है. इसमें भी अगर आप देखोगे तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजंस, पावर शेयरिंग, ठीक है, दैट इज सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ पावर एक्सेट्रा. ठीक है. या फिर मोड ऑफ इलेक्शन और अपॉइंटमेंट और रिमूवल. ठीक है. सो दिस इज द बॉर्डर ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक. इसी में से दे विल बी आस्किंग यू द क्वेश्चन. नाउ इफ यू सी द PYQs आल्सो. ठीक है. सो इन 25 compare and contrast president's power to pardon in India and in the US. So president's power, pardoning power. ठीक है. And if you see this same question, just give me a minute, I will show you. So the same pardoning power question. Okay. Yes. We had asked in our the first FLT after the prelims. राइट. इसीलिए मैंने आपको सभी को कहा था कि आफ्टर once your polity subject is complete, try to attempt the advanced test. Right. So this is the first FLT after this prelims. And how are the pardoning powers of President of India different from that of US? This we were able to predict because first of all हमें पता था they will be asking the question on the comparison three countries के ही आएंगे, legislative, executive, judiciary. Second, we predicted based upon the current affairs. So this particular thing was in news because former US President Joe Biden, he pardoned his own son, and that became a huge controversy in US elections. So because of that, वी प्रिडिक्टेड दैट पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन और सेम क्वेश्चन आ गया था, राइट। सो करंट अफेयर्स में भी आपको जब कोई न्यूज आए, मेक श्योर कि यू आर लिंकिंग इट विद दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक, ठीक है। अब अगर करंट अफेयर्स आप देखोगे तो बेस्ड अपॉन द करंट अफेयर्स यू कैन एक्सपेक्ट क्वेश्चंस। फर्स्ट, अगर यूएस पे आया तो कंपैरिजन ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट या फिर उसके इम्पीचमेंट प्रोविजन पे, ठीक है, विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू इंडिया एंड दी यूएस। सेकेंड, अगर फ्रांस पे आया तो दे कैन आस्क विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू दी कोहैबिटेशन सिस्टम, ठीक है, और द ड्यूअल एग्जीक्यूटिव सिस्टम वेयर द प्रेसिडेंट एंड प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैव द powers, ठीक है। अनलाइक इन इंडिया वेयर द प्रेसिडेंट इज द नॉमिनल हेड, द प्रेसिडेंट इन द फ्रांस is the real head of the executive and there is the division of power between president and the prime minister, ठीक है। and it was also in news because of in last 5 to 6 years I think they have more than 7 to 8 prime ministers, ठीक है। so because of that, third, I'm a, you can get a question with respect to the UK's intra-party democracy, ठीक है? और with respect to judiciary, specifically with respect to appointments, ठीक है। इसके आने के चांसेस कम है बिकॉज दिस ईयर इटसेल्फ दे आस्क्ड क्वेश्चन ऑन द जुडिशियल अपॉइंटमेंट्स, बट स्टिल बिकॉज वन ऑफ द वे फॉरवर्ड इन जुडिशियल अपॉइंटमेंट इज यूके सिस्टम, राइट। तो करंट अफेयर्स बेस पे दीज आर द थीम्स विच आर इन न्यूज। बाकी भी आपके अगर कोई आते गए तो यू कैन ऐड दोज। वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑल्सो आ सकता है इन कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ द यूएस, ठीक है, वाइस प्रेसिडेंट भी करके रखो। वो तो दिस इज द करंट अफेयर्स लिंकेज। बाकी भी जब भी न्यूज में आ जाए यू कैन डू इट, ठीक है। इतना भी करने की जरूरत नहीं है। इफ यू अटेम्प्ट ऑल द एडवांस टेस्ट एंड जो प्रीलिम्स के बाद हमारे 12 बेसिक टेस्ट एफएलटीज होंगे उतने भी अगर अटेम्प्ट किए तो उसी में से आएगा क्वेश्चन, उसके बियॉन्ड नहीं जाएगा, ठीक है। दिस नाउ कमिंग टू दी आंसर राइटिंग फ्रेमवर्क, ठीक है। सो जैसे हमने देखा था कि क्वेश्चन कैन बी आइदर प्रिंसिपल बेस्ड और इंस्टीट्यूशन बेस्ड, ठीक है। इफ द क्वेश्चन इज इंस्टीट्यूशन बेस्ड कि लेजिस्लेचर, एग्जीक्यूटिव और जुडिशियरी, देन यू कैन आइदर गिव द कंटेक्सचुअल स्टार्ट, जैसे जो पार्डनिंग वाला क्वेश्चन था, तो यू कैन टॉक अबाउट द कंटेक्स्ट कि रिसेंटली द पार्डनिंग पावर ऑफ द प्रेसिडेंट केम इनटू कंट्रोवर्सी व्हेन जो बाइडेन, ठीक है, pardoned his own son. Okay, same as the US, Indian president also enjoys the pardoning power under Article 72 of the Constitution. So that introduction you can give, which is the contextual or institution वाले based में basically comparative क्यों दे दो. You just provide the brief comparison. Okay, though the president of the India and US both enjoy the pardoning power, their nature and scope differs, okay, due to different political and socio-economic environments or contexts. ये अपना कॉमन इंट्रोडक्शन रहेगा, ठीक है। एंड इफ द क्वेश्चन इज ऑन द कोर प्रिंसिपल, कि जैसे उन्होंने इक्वालिटी पे पूछा है, डिस्टिंग्विशिंग फीचर्स ऑफ नोशन ऑफ इक्वालिटी इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस ऑफ द यूएस एंड इंडिया, ठीक है। सिमिलरली सेक्युलरिज्म पे पूछा है, अप्रोच फ्रांस कैन लर्न फ्रॉम इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस अप्रोच टू सेक्युलरिज्म, ठीक है। सो ये जब क्वेश्चन आए तो इन दिस काइंड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन यू जस्ट स्टार्ट विद द डेफिनेशन ऑफ दैट कंसेप्ट, ठीक है। सो यू ब्रीफली गिव द डेफिनेशन एंड आफ्टर द डेफिनेशन यू प्रोवाइड द क्लासिफिकेशन। सेक्युलरिज्म आ गया तो इक्वल डिस्टेंस बिटवीन द रिलीजन एंड द स्टेट, ठीक है, इन पब्लिक स्फीयर। एंड सेक्युलरिज्म कैन बी ब्रॉडली क्लासिफाइड अंडर टू टाइप्स, पॉजिटिव सेक्युलरिज्म, निगेटिव सेक्युलरिज्म। सिमिलरली इक्वालिटी का डेफिनेशन दे दो एंड देन क्लासिफिकेशन, प्रोसीजरल इक्वालिटी, सब्सटेंटिव इक्वालिटी। Similarly, if they ask on the liberty, give the definition of liberty, and then two types of the liberty, that is positive liberty, negative liberty. ठीक है, for the concept based questions. Then जैसे this is the common introduction which you can use. ठीक है, अगर लिबर्टी पे पूछा है, इक्वालिटी पे पूछा है, या फिर जुडिशियरी पे, एग्जीक्यूटिव पे भी पूछा, तो दो, रूटेड इन डेमोक्रेटिक आइडियल्स, इंटरप्रेट लिबर्टी एंड इक्वालिटी थ्रू डिस्टिंक्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ट्रेडिशंस. तो कोई भी कंट्री हो, कोई भी प्रिंसिपल हो, यू कैन यूज द सिमिलर इंट्रोडक्शन फ्रेमवर्क. ज्यादा दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है. देन इन मेन बॉडी हमेशा याद रखो, इवन इफ दे स्पेसिफिकली आस्क्ड की डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन द फीचर्स or distinguish between the Parliament of the India and US, even if the directive is distinguished, always try to provide both similarities and differences. Okay. If the directive is compare and contrast, then आपके differences and similarities both will be 50-50. Okay. Comparison doesn't mean only differences. It means both similarities and differences. अगर वो बोले just distinguish, in that case 70% will go to the differences and 30% briefly using the diagrammatic form you give the similarities. Okay. Third, if there is critical analysis, or critical examination or analyze, in that case provides the positives, that is significance, and negatives of it. जैसे आपका ये क्वेश्चन उन्होंने पूछा था, critically examine the procedure through which presidents of the India and France are elected. So simply आपको बस procedure नहीं देना है, you have to provide the analysis of that procedure, that is significance and limitations. ठीक है. बाकी compare and contrast जब पूछेंगे तो similarities and differences. ठीक है. यहाँ पे भी compare जब भी पूछा है, ठीक है, जब distinguishing features जब पूछेंगे, then 70% will be differences, 30% will be similarities. ठीक है. And then conclusion, you briefly give the summary. One, की एक तो synthesis आप दे सकते हो, synthesis as in दो, they differ in the procedure, yet both are based upon the democratic ethos. ऐसे एक कीवर्ड लगा के you can provide the synthesis, या फिर यू कैन हाईलाइट द इंपॉर्टेंट वैल्यू, जैसे आपका इक्वेलिटी आ गया या फिर सेक्युलरिज्म आ गया. ठीक है. सो द सेक्युलरिज्म प्रिंसिपल of India and US, though differs in its functioning and the principles in its functioning, yet it is based upon the similar principles of justice, liberty and equality. ठीक है. That is value reinforcement. ठीक है. थर्ड, कन्वर्जेंस नोट. कन्वर्जेंस एज इन अगर बहुत ज्यादा सिमिलैरिटीज है तो इन दैट केस यू प्रोवाइड ग्रोइंग कन्वर्जेंस. ठीक है. ये या फिर वे फॉरवर्ड टाइप आप दे सकते हो, कि जैसे यहाँ पे जो पूछा है क्वेश्चन कि व्हाट कैन फ्रांस लर्न फ्रॉम इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अप्रोच टू सेक्युलरिज्म. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे वे फॉरवर्ड टोन में यू कैन गिव द कंक्लूजन, दस Indian secularism based upon multicultural perspective and Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina can help France mitigate the recent civil unrest. ठीक है. तो ये थोड़ा वे फॉरवर्ड टाइप भी आप कंक्लूजन दे सकते हो, बट मोस्टली ये सिंथेसिस वाला याद रखो. ठीक है. दिस इज द कॉमन, इसमें ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगाना है. So this is your answer writing framework, and in main body, while giving the differences, remember this framework. ठीक है. कि ये सिर्फ इस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक के लिए नहीं है, ओवरऑल wherever you will be providing the differences, try to remember this framework. First, you talk about its history. Second, you talk about its philosophy. Then you give the facts about it, that is the constitutional provisions. Then you talk about its objective. Then the nature, whether it is positive, whether it is negative, whether it is substantive, whether it is procedural. That is the nature. Next, you talk about its scope. Yeah. Whether it is limited by judiciary, whether it is limited by federalism, or whether it is limited by any other constitutional provision. जैसे फंडामेंटल राइट्स का कंपैरिजन अगर आ गया, तो इन इंडिया देयर द scope is limited by reasonable restrictions, whereas in US their scope is unlimited. That is, in US they have the absolute right to freedom of speech. So that is with respect to scope. Then enforcing mechanism or distribution of powers. Who enforces that? And last example. ठीक है. So ये framework आप याद रखो. Based upon these framework, you can generate the points for any differences. अगर if you are not starting with the definition in the introduction, then obviously first point of difference will become the definition. But यहाँ पे मैंने ऐड नहीं किया है because definition से हम introduction करने वाले हैं. ठीक है. बस ये क्लियर है. आंसर राइटिंग फ्रेमवर्क. बस ठीक है. ग्रोइंग कन्वर्जेंस मतलब कि दे आर लर्निंग फ्रॉम ईच अदर एंड देयर इज सिमिलैरिटी और देयर इज ग्रोइंग कम्युनिकेशन. ठीक है. और दे आर इवॉल्विंग इन दी सिमिलर मैनर. ठीक है. जैसे यूएस में दे हैड द लाइव ब्रॉडकास्टिंग ऑफ द जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग्स. ठीक है. इंडिया ऑल्सो अडॉप्टेड दैट. सो दैट इज द ग्रोइंग कन्वर्जेंस. सो ऑन दैट वे. ठीक है. सो दिस इज your conclusion framework, and this is one common keywords which you can use. Okay, despite differences, both reflected faith in constitutionalism and democratic values. ये आपका आंसर राइटिंग फ्रेमवर्क रहेगा. सो ट्राई टू रिमेंबर दिस. एंड ये ब्रीफली मैंने दिए है सिमिलैरिटीज एंड डिफरेंसेस. इसको बस याद कर लो. इसमें से बस कीवर्ड भी याद रखा है तो भी सफिशिएंट है. ठीक है. इंडिया एंड यूएस, India, UK, and India and France. Hmm. These are few of the toppers copies which you can refer. So this is of ये थोड़ा सा different आ गया. I think on in group I have uploaded the correct one, no? So you can refer that one. Hmm. Hmm. Now come sorry, these are the toppers answers. So this is of AR3 Archit, Indian and British system, and US. ये थोड़ा सा you refer these are sufficient. Now coming to the answers. ये clear है? Any doubts with respect to the answer writing framework? Clear? Okay. Now let's start with the questions. India and US are two large democracies. Examine the basic. इसमें और एक one more thing. You remember that there is a very little scope to provide the way forward in the comparison topic. ठीक है. और अगर आपके पास if there is a scope and if you want to provide the way forward, normally I would advise against it. But अगर content deficit बहुत बड़ा है and if you want to add one more dimension going beyond the demand, so while giving the way forward, make a table. So दोनों के as the systems are different for both the countries, your way forwards will also differ. Make a table for US, for India, but generally avoid it because वो relevant नहीं रहता है ज़्यादा. Okay, so the first question, who wants to give me the structure of this question? Indian and US are two large democracies. Examine the basic tenets on which two political systems are based. Yes. Who wants to give me the structure of this? Yes, Uday.
Sir, I would in the intro I would start with the history that in India is considered like the mother of democracy, and US is the oldest democracy,
Yes,
and
good.
that is what. And then in the basic tenets, I will distinguish between both political system. Like in India, it is a parliamentarian, and USA it is a republican democracy.
No. After that, after the intro,
Yeah. After the intro, then I will write the basic tenets of both. Like in India, it is a parliamentary democracy. I mean, we have the lower house and upper house. And USA,
mhm,
it is a republican system. They have a presidential rule and Senate and House of Representatives.
ठीक
Uh,
है. हम्म,
then I'll say I'll write how they are like how the president in India is voted and how the president in
no,
the
that's,
United States
don't
is
give me the
voted.
points, just give me the structure. After the basic tenets,
Uh, after I with after the basic 10 within that then like I'll write the conclusion. That's it.
no. Read the directive. यस
Examine,
गौतम. यस. तो अभी मैंने ऊपर बताया ना, एग्जाम होने के बाद क्या करना है आपको?
compare and contrast.
ना, ठीक है. यस गौतम.
Yeah, so for me, first I will write the introduction as he said, like same line we can
हम्म,
write, or
हम्म,
we can pick something someone from this call given by you on this notes, expected notes, and then sir, I will go for India and USA are two large democracies. What are the factors behind that? That's why the India and USA are two large democracies. For these things, I will write some points also, then go for the analysis second part. And the second part, examine the basic tenets on which two political systems are based. And this part, how first I will put the analysis for the basic tenets. I will analyze, then positive and negatives I will write, and then I will conclude with a balance and balanced conclusion I will write. Even if they are both constitutionally governed countries, like this I will write.
ओके. तविशी.
So after basic tenets, I guess we'll go with the like positive and negatives of both because examine is given.
ठीक है. ओके.
Yeah, and yeah, after that, obviously conclusion.
ओके. सो ठीक है. सी अब इतना, all of you said ki as it is examined you will give for positive and negative, but positive and negatives of both will differ, right? कि यूएसए इंडिया के कंटेक्स्ट में पॉजिटिव्स विल बी, इट इज मोर रिप्रेजेंटेटिव. ठीक है, इट इज फोकस्ड अपॉन द अकाउंटेबिलिटी, whereas यूएस के पॉजिटिव्स में rather than accountability it is stability that they have preferred, right? तो आपके वो सारे डिफरेंट आएंगे. So rather than that, you keep it very simple. Even if they have asked examine, you give this first you give the basic tenets, then you give the differences in basic tenets. ठीक है, that's it. And after that you provide the analysis chart. जो basic tenets है उसी में आपके positives and negatives है. जैसे basic tenets will be constitutional supremacy, separation of power, right, independent judiciary. These are your basic tenets. These are the points of significance only. ठीक है, तो सेपरेटली आपको सिग्निफिकेंस देने की जरूरत नहीं है, या फिर सेपरेटली यू डोंट नीड टू गिव द पॉजिटिव्स ऑफ इट, right? Because these will be the same point, and in differences You provide the differences in terms of the executive, legislative, judiciary, in terms of secularism and all. ठीक है, वो आपके differences आएंगे, and after that challenges in both systems. ठीक है, ये briefly आपका टेबल बनेगा. Then you go for the conclusion. ये clear है? Yes. Is it clear? Structure? Yes, Sundara.
Sir, do we have to make two tables? मतलब differences का अलग से फिर
हाँ,
challenges
differences का एक बनेगा आपका separate.
and then challenges different.
Challenges का
Got
अगर
it.
ये नहीं बनाया तो भी चलेगा, but briefly अगर time बचा तो if you have the space you can do it.
Okay.
ठीक है, and then conclusion. Now tell me, how are you going to generate the points? Basic T nuts तो ठीक है, that is fine, we know the principles, but यहाँ पे इन दोनों में how are you going to generate the points? Yes. सिंपल, जो मैंने आंसर राइटिंग फ्रेमवर्क में भी दिया है यहाँ पे, if the question is on the overall comparison of the constitutions, what you do for overall constitutional differences, differentiate between first three organs and core principles. ठीक है, सो आपके लेजिस्लेटिव का बनेगा, एग्जीक्यूटिव का बनेगा, जुडिशरी का बनेगा. एग्जीक्यूटिव दे हैव द प्रेसिडेंशियल सिस्टम, वी हैव द पार्लियामेंट्री सिस्टम. प्रेसिडेंट इज द रियल हेड in India. Prime Minister is the real head, PM President is the nominal head. ठीक है, with respect to the judiciary, ठीक है, so they have the active judiciary, or they have the concept of the judicial supremacy, whereas in India we have constitutional supremacy. ठीक है. Secondly, with respect to differences in terms of the appointment of the judiciary, and then in terms of the legislature, so there is strict separation of power. Here we have the checks and balances, where the ministers are the members of the legislature. There they have the strict separation of power. So उन lines में. Then core principles. Core principles आपके कौन से होते हैं? Fundamental rights, secularism, ये सारे. You can talk about the liberty, equality वगैरह, वो भी you can generate the points from. Okay, then same you will be using for the differences. Okay, so we'll write this answer and you write with me. So introduction again, two large democracies इन्होंने जो बोला है that we'll address in the introduction itself. कि just a second. India is the mother of democracy, whereas the US is the first republic form of the government. Just a minute. Yes. Now, basically हमें compare करना है, तो we have to talk about the similarities and differences. So the US as the first republic and India as the mother of democracies ठीक है. Then you highlight the similarities and differences. Share the common philosophical foundation of liberty, equality, and justice or constitutionalism expressed through, and now comes the differences part, distinct institutional frameworks. ठीक है, रिमेंबर दिस कॉमन, ये आपका हर कंट्री में बनेगा. इवन इन केस ऑफ द फ्रांस आल्सो यू कैन गिव द सिमिलर इंट्रोडक्शन. इवन इन केस ऑफ द यूके आल्सो यू कैन गिव द सिमिलर इंट्रोडक्शन. ठीक है, देन we talk about the basic tenets of political systems. So here we will be highlighting the similarities. So first, constitutional supremacy. So both have written constitutions with rigid amendment procedure. Right. Second, both are the republic form of government, republicanism. So authority derived from we the people. Preamble of both constitution. ठीक है, then third, rule of law. ये प्रिंसिपल्स याद कर लो. दीज आर द कॉमन प्रिंसिपल्स इन ऑल द डेमोक्रेसीज. ठीक है, enforced through Article 14 in India and Fifth Amendment in USA. ठीक है, fourth, separation of powers between three organs of the. Even if you don't know the corresponding US constitutional provisions, you can simply mention Indian only. Article 50 of Indian Constitution. ठीक है, इतना भी चल जाएगा. Then independent judiciary. As the guardian of the Constitution. And then sixth, fundamental rights. Article 12 to 35 in India and Bill of Rights of the US. Protect civil liberties. right? So these are the basic tenets. Or if you want, you can also write account एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड लेजिस्लेचर नहीं आएगा उसमें, बट सिमिलैरिटीज आपकी ये रहेंगे. ठीक है, बियॉन्ड दैट कैन वी ऐड एनीथिंग? Amendment we have added. Yes, federalism is there. Federalism. So, division of powers between the union and states. जुडिशियल रिव्यू ठीक है, जुडिशियल इंडिपेंडेंट जुडिशियरी में हमने लिखा है, तो यहाँ पे ही इफ यू वांट एज ए एग्जांपल you can add judicial review and due process of law or due process doctrine. Citizenship तो differences में आएगा. Electoral systems will also be different. ठीक है, so these are the basic tenets. Again आपको देना है तो universal adult franchise is also there. ठीक है, then principles of liberty, equality and justice. As an example you can give freedom of speech and expression. So यहाँ पे as an example freedom of speech and expression. ठीक है, इतने sufficient है 7. These are the basic tenets. Again यहाँ पे अगर आप देखोगे secularism also you can add. ठीक है, यहाँ पे अगर आप देखोगे तो again the institutions जैसे separation of power, judiciary, ठीक है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन या फिर प्रिंसिपल्स, फेडरलिज्म, सेक्युलरिज्म, फंडामेंटल राइट्स वगैरह. देन यू कम टू द differences. However, due to differences in social, political contexts, there are differences in both systems. In differences also, what you can, yes, do is the executive, legislative, judiciary. So just say differences, what you will be basically doing is so for your understanding, I'm just giving you that India, USA. So again, differences will generate from the perspective of form of government, executive, legislature, judiciary. Take it. Then we'll come to the principles, that is federalism, secularism, fundamental rights. And also talk about the DPSP, then amendment, based upon that we'll generate the points. Yes, emergency provisions also you can add. So form of government in India is the parliamentary. Article 75. Right, and यहाँ पे form of government is the presidential government with direct accountability. To people. ठीक है. Then with respect to the executive in India, PM is a real head and president is nominal. President is executive or real head of government. Right. Legislature again key executive is collectively responsible to lower house. यहाँ पे strict separation of power. Between executive and this. ठीक है. इसमें इसे we call it the fusion of powers or system of checks and balances. ठीक है. Then with respect to the federalism, judiciary also you can talk. We have the integrated judiciary and they have the separate judiciary with federal court and the provincial courts. Then with respect to federalism, India has the quasi federal structure emphasizing on cooperation. Here they have the dual federalism. With greater autonomy to states. यहाँ पे if you want, you can give the example dual citizenship. Then coming to the secularism, so India follows the positive secularism. Which justifies the state intervention for religious reforms. Right. What is the example of this? Yes. What is the example of the secularism where the state has intervened? Yes, triple talaq bill. यहाँ negative secularism with strict separation between religion and state. Okay. You also have this after the secularism, we had the fundamental rights. Okay. So fundamental rights with reasonable restrictions. For example, Article 19 Part 2. Then near absolute fundamental rights. Example, freedom of speech and expression. ठीक है. Then yes, DPSP we talked about, right? So DPSP highlights socialist agenda of welfare state. The objective of DPSP is welfare state. You can give any of the example of this example: equal wages. Whereas in US, the capitalist system promotes liberal individualism, right? And it restricts state intervention. In India, we have the welfare state, where state has the powers, or state enjoys more powers to ensure the welfare of all sections of the society. इसीलिए stay we don't have the absolute right to property, or fundamental right to property was removed from fundamental rights, right? Whereas in US, they have the absolute right to property. Even state cannot take the property of the individual. Why? Because of the capitalist system and their emphasis on the liberal individualism. ठीक है. Liberal individualism means कि you need to give the maximum liberties to the individual, where there has to be the minimum state intervention. ठीक है. इसी से आप point you can also derive India has the positive liberty, whereas US has the this negative liberty. ठीक है. ये clear है? You can add one more. You can add any of the point. ठीक है. So you can add the party system also. So India has the multi-party system to accommodate diversity, whereas US has the two-party systems. You can add that. You can add the electoral systems also. Head of state or the president is indirectly elected. In US, president is directly elected. कोई भी आप लिख सकते हो. I'll add party system. India has multi-party system to accommodate diversity. Two-party systems based on conventions. What are the two parties? Republic and Democrat. Amendment also you can add, yes. Okay. But itne sufficient. Of you can highlight the challenges. The second way of is just do the SWOT analysis. ठीक है. So कैसे आप कर सकते हो इसमें कि one is the you can highlight the challenges again जो मैंने कहा, या फिर Second is the examination of basic tenets. One, India, strength, weakness. ठीक है. So strength, what are the strengths of Indian system? कि one, कोई भी प्रिंसिपल इन्हीं के आप दे दो, जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल parliamentary democracy. What is the objective or what does parliamentary democracy ensures? कि greater accountability of or greater accountability through checks and balances. Example, no confidence motion. Right. But this has given rise to the political instability. Example, in 1990s. Second, with respect to the federalism, तो asymmetric federalism ensures balanced regional growth. Right, and this again weakness of the Indian federalism is the this conflicting federalism or confrontational फेडरलिज्म. कोई भी एग्जांपल दे दो. कि तमिलनाडु अपोजिशन टू नीट. ठीक है. देन अगेन कि स्टेट इंडियन मॉडल ऑफ सेक्युलरिज्म का दे दो या फिर स्टेट इंटरवेंशन का दे दो या फिर एग्जीक्यूटिव का दे दो या फिर जुडिशियरी का दे दो. ठीक है. सो स्ट्रेंथ इज द जुडिशियल और इंडिपेंडेंट. जुडिशरी एज guardian of or guardian of fundamental rights. Example, Aadhaar judgment. So, judicial overreach. Sounds. Example, NJC judgment. बस हो गया इतना. आपका sufficient है. 3 points are more than sufficient. ठीक है. And then you come to the USA. Again on the similar lines. Strengths, weakness. So with respect to executive, legislative, judiciary के terms में you can give first executive. So direct election of president ensures स्टेबिलिटी। ठीक है, एंड इसके लिमिटेशन क्या होगा फिर? यस। What will be the limitations? किचन कैबिनेट नेपोटिज्म, ठीक है, नेपोटिज्म को यू कैन टॉक अबाउट द स्पॉइल्स सिस्टम। सो हाँ, एक्सेसिव पावर्स टू द प्रेसिडेंट आल्सो यू कैन गिव, वही एग्जांपल दे सकते हो, जो बाइडेन पार्डनिंग हिज सन। ठीक है, या फिर स्पॉइल सिस्टम। स्पॉइल सिस्टम मतलब दे आर द मिनिस्टर्स, वहाँ पे मिनिस्टर नहीं होते, बेसिकली सेक्रेटरीज होते। सेक्रेटरीज डजंट हैव टू बी मेंबर्स ऑफ द सीनेट और द मेंबर्स ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट। सो किसी को भी प्राइवेट मेंबर्स को उठा के दे कैन अपॉइंट एज द सेक्रेटरीज, विच इज कॉल्ड एज द स्पॉइल सिस्टम। ठीक है, देन यस, with respect to the strict separation of power creates conflicts. Example, shutdown over budget. So basically क्या होता है कि यूएस में प्रेसिडेंट मेक्स अ बजट, बट दैट बजट, oh sorry, this will come into the issues. Budget. So basically क्या होता है, the president prepares the budget and that budget has to be approved by the Senate. But president doesn't have his members in the Senate. Okay, as the president is directly appointed by the people. So if Senate doesn't approve it, or the Senate suggests many of the recommendations or the changes which president doesn't approve, in that case there is a stalemate. So during that time उनका पूरा सिस्टम ही शट डाउन हो जाता है, दी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन डजंट रिसीव एनी सैलरीज, वो सब बंद हो जाता है। ठीक है, सो इट इज बेस्ड अपॉन द कन्वेंशन, फिर वो निगोशिएट करते हैं एंड आफ्टर दैट द बजट इज अप्रूव्ड, बट दैट क्रिएट्स कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एंड विच लीड्स टू द शटडाउन। ठीक है, सो यहाँ पे भी स्ट्रिक्ट सेपरेशन इंश्योर्स क्लियरिटी with respect to powers. ठीक है, then third you talk about the federalism. So federalism में they have the symmetric federalism. Example, equal representation to states and senate. So every state has just the two representatives in their senate. Whereas in case of India, Rajya Sabha membership is dependent upon the population. So we have the asymmetric federalism. And the limitation of it is the clash between federal and provincial governments. Example, recent Washington DC conflicts over law and order. ठीक है, this was in news recently. Then after that you provide the brief conclusion. So यहाँ पे भी we'll just give the summary. So the shared democratic ideals highlight the universal constitutional principles while their institutional differences highlight unique historical and socio cultural context. Again, similarities and differences के terms पे, ठीक है. No analysis chart in one page for both not needed. It is a 15 marker question. On first phase you highlight similarities, on second you highlight differences, and third you go for the SWOT analysis. ठीक है, उतना sufficient है. ठीक है, ये clear है. फर्स्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रिपब्लिक, ठीक है, या फिर फर्स्ट मॉडर्न रिपब्लिक आल्सो यू कैन मेंशन. यस, फर्स्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रिपब्लिक मेंशन करो, दैट्स फाइन. इन इंट्रोडक्शन इज दिस क्लियर? नाउ एनी डाउट्स? बिकॉज आगे वाले क्वेश्चन आपको ही लिखने हैं. ठीक है, यस, ओके, चलो नेक्स्ट. Analyze the distinguishing features of notion of equality in the constitutions of the US and India. Okay. So now tell me the structure. Yes, Ankush.
Sir, I think intro would be same as the last question. In the last question it was, and
Hmm.
then we can highlight the distinguishing features related to the
No,
equality.
no.
Like,
What will be the introduction?
so like we have mentioned in the last question.
No. Question is the concept wala, no? Concept based question is there, no?
We can define equality.
Yes. You define equality and give its classification. What is that? Procedural equality and substantive equality. Then next.
So then we can provide the distinguishing features.
Hmm.
And like you have said that when there's distinguishing, like demand is distinguished, then we have to provide similarities also 70-30.
Yes. So after that, the similarities. Yes.
And
Okay.
so like it's 50 marker. If content is less, then there can be analysis like
Hmm. Uh, Analysis,
like
provision of the analysis will be difficult. Differences में ही you can cover.
okay.
ठीक है. So while covering the differences, again you use this framework, the origin, ठीक है. Then philosophical basis, constitutional provisions, objective, nature, scope, enforcing mechanism, example. ठीक है. तो इसका आपका इंट्रोडक्शन कैसे आएगा? So आपके distinguishing features again with respect to the evolution or the origin. In case of the India, the origin is or its origin can be traced to eradicate caste, gender, and economic disparities. Right. Whereas in US, the concept of equality is originated to end the racial discrimination. Hmm. So after the origin, you talk about the philosophical basis. So philosophical basis is, in case of India, the philosophical basis is substantive equality. That is, which is rooted in DPSP. Article 39 you can talk about. And they have the procedural equality. That is equality before law. Then you talk about the constitutional provisions. What are the constitutional provisions? In case of India, Article 14 to 18. Okay. Whereas in this US, these were introduced through the 14th Amendment. Is established equal protection of law. ठीक है. Then what is our framework? ठीक है. Objective is same जो हमारा था. Nature. So with respect to the nature, the nature in case of India is positive. In case of US, it is negative. इसका example you can give the reservation system. ठीक है. Then scope. Scope में equality, not just legal or political, but Indian Constitution envisages legal or the political, social, as well as economic equality, whereas US वाला only political equality. Right. So scope आपका आ गया. Then you talk about the role of
Judiciary.
state. So role of state is यहाँ पे active role. Example, you can talk about the recent हाँ कौन सा one इसको EWS reservation. What is the amendment number? 103rd. 103rd? Not able to recall. ठीक है. Yes, women reservation also 106th also you can talk about. It is state is neutral. So lazy is fair state. Then role of judiciary. So judiciary, you give the judgment. जैसे हमारा ओल्गा टेलिस केस है. Right to livelihood is part of right to life and personal liberty. और Article 14 के लिए you also have the right to privacy. Is also linked to Article 14. ओल्गा टेलिस. ठीक है. यहाँ पे you simply write limited role. Right to livelihood. Yes, Nalsa judgment also you can talk. Or LGBTQ का this Navtej Singh Johar also you can give. ठीक है. Navtej Singh Johar also. Singh Johar. Then role of legislature or parliament in promoting socio-economic equality. अब उसी के साथ अमेंडमेंट कोई एक और दे दो कि जैसे you can talk about right to education, you can give, right? 86th amendment. यहाँ पे limited role in socio-economic equality. ठीक है, that then what else? Hmm, what else? Hmm, this is by using our framework. ये तीन organs हो गए और ये बाकी आपके जो फ्रेमवर्क दिए थे उसके बेसिस पे. व्हाट एल्स? एक आपका और पॉइंट आएगा, दैट विल बी इन दी नेचर ओनली. ठीक है, सो इन नेचर इंडिया का जो है कि दे हाईलाइट द इक्वालिटी ऑफ इंडिविजुअल एज वेल एज ग्रुप इक्वालिटी. ठीक है, मतलब जो राइट्स हमारे फंडामेंटल राइट्स में है, दे आर दी इंडिविजुअल राइट्स एज वेल एज ग्रुप राइट्स. जैसे माइनॉरिटी राइट्स आर दी ग्रुप राइट्स, whereas right to freedom of speech and expression are the individual rights. ठीक है, so individual plus group rights, whereas in US majorly individual equality or individual rights. Judicial activism is prevalent there, but it is not majorly related to the कि जैसे इंडिया में जैसे राइट टू प्राइवेसी उन्होंने कहा या फिर आर्टिकल 21 का उन्होंने एक्सपांशन किया, वैसे यूएस में नहीं होता है. यूएस ऑल्सो हैज द एक्टिव जुडिशरी, बट दैट एक्टिव जुडिशरी कीप्स द चेक ऑन द लेजिस्लेचर एंड एग्जीक्यूटिव. तो सिटीजन के फंडामेंटल राइट्स ज्यादा एक्सपांड नहीं करते हैं. ठीक है, सो इन टर्म्स ऑफ होल्डिंग द अकाउंटेबिलिटी ऑफ द एग्जीक्यूटिव एंड लेजिस्लेचर, दे हैव द एक्टिव जुडिशरी. ठीक है, और enforcing the fundamental rights that are already given to the citizens. So basically scope of fundamental rights in US is limited, but जो limited rights है they are absolute. So जैसे they have right to property but it is in absolute sense. ठीक है, इंडिया में you have dozens of fundamental rights. ठीक है, you have right to this clean environment, right to clean water. ठीक है, पर किसको मिलता है? We have them in large numbers, but they are not in absolute terms, or their enforcement is very weak. ठीक है, तो in terms of that the judiciary differs. ठीक है, so these are the points of differences. Then you talk about the similarities. So what will be the similarities? First, both are constitutionally recognized. ठीक है, then provides for rule of law, equality before law, and equal protection of law. Yeah. Third, judicial oversight through this due process. In which case due process was introduced in India? Menka Gandhi. Right. That. What else? ठीक है, इतने तीन sufficient है. Is it clear? And then conclusion. Key. See, concept based questions may you have if you have the quote, you can add the quote. Key. As per, just remember, Dworkin, he was a political scientist. So according to him, equality is a sovereign virtue. The virtue means wisdom. So equality is the sovereign virtue, means equality is the highest among the all rights. ठीक है? And then you provide the अपना comparative analysis कि both India and US uphold equality as a democratic ideal and basic feature of constitution. Yes, sir. So this will make your conclusion enriching. Is it clear? Abhi, anything that we are missing? Yes. Clear है? Okay. अब यहाँ पे similarities अगर आपको और डालने दो, you can also add the philosophical basis also. Philosophical basis कौन से होते हैं आपके? Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Human Dignity. That is also the similar philosophical base. So will you be able to write? अब हो जाएगा 3 pages में ये आंसर. Now will you be able to write it in 3 pages? Yes. Okay. So let's start. It's 6:21. You have time till 6:33. Start. We need to finish next 6 questions also. So 6:33. Start. Okay, guys. हो गया? Yes, Gautam.
Done, sir. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Are you able to finish the answer in 12 minutes? Everyone? Yes. Good. ठीक है. So अगर आप देखोगे तो we are doing brainstorming in about 3 minutes and then you are writing in 12 minutes. So 15 minutes हो रहे हैं. So we have to bring it down to around 11 minutes. No? Gradually it will come, don't worry. ठीक है? Okay. So this is what's the answer. Again, equality, you start with the definition of equality and then the 2 forms of equality, formal and substantive. Okay. Then the one connecting statement, US Constitution uphold legal, whereas Indian Constitution advances substantive and transformative equality. Okay. Then the similarities and then differences. Yes. I'll share this answer in the group. No need to worry. वही पॉइंट्स है जो हमने कवर किए है यूजिंग आवर फ्रेमवर्क. ठीक है. दिस यहाँ पे बस आई हैव एडेड वन मोर कोट एज पर डॉर्किन, इक्वालिटी इन इज अ सोवरिन वर्च्यू. यस वसुंधरा.
So, in similarities, you told that rule of law is similar in both India and US, but
Yes.
rule of law तो UK का concept है ना, dicey वाला.
तो क्या हुआ, तो यूके से ही यूएस ने लिया था, हमने भी यूके से ही लिया है।
But वो थोड़ा negative connotation में जाता है, मतलब rule of
No,
law.
even if the origin of rule of law is from UK, both US and India have followed rule of law. All the democracies have rule of law as the common feature. ठीक है, ओरिजिन डजेंट मैटर, हमें सिमिलैरिटीज बतानी है ना। तो अगर वैसे
हाँ,
देखा जाए तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इटसेल्फ इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ यूके। ठीक
yes.
है, जो उनका मैग्ना कार्टा होता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, उसका ओरिजिन अगर डिफरेंट हुआ तो भी इट डजेंट मैटर, एज लॉन्ग एज इट इज प्रेजेंट इन बोथ द कंट्रीज। ठीक है।
Yes.
ओके, देन नेक्स्ट इज discuss India as a secular state and compare with the secular principles of the US Constitution. Again, it is a 15 marker question. Quickly, I need the structure of this. Read the directives properly and then give me the structure. Yes, yes, Tejaswini, turn on the camera, please.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good
Sir,
evening.
in this, okay. Sir, in this, like, the question is regarding the secularism. So I'll start with the introduction, basically on the secularism, like
Mhm.
main context with the secularism. Okay. So, sir, then my first heading would be India as a secular state,
Yes.
and then sir,
Mhm.
few points I will give, like the articles I will mention, like that I will give the
Mhm.
points.
Mhm.
Okay. Then, sir, second the heading will be my um, secularism, dilution of secularism in India, like that.
No need.
Uh, should I give? Okay,
Dilution
the
of
challenge.
secularism.
Yeah, like the challenges.
No need.
Okay, okay. Then, sir, the heading will be comparison of secularism provisions, like between India and US Constitution. Then, so in that, first will be the similarities.
Mhm.
Okay. And so then differences point, and at the end, I will mention the conclusion.
Click. Uh, yes, you can unmute. Turn on
Hi,
the.
sir. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yes. Yes.
First of all, I explain why India is a secular state because most
No,
of the countries
no,
think India is a religious country.
no, no, no. Nobody thinks India is a religious country. We are a secular state. There is no doubt in that. And we are more secular than the even the Western countries. You always
Yes.
remember ki the don't go with the literal interpretation or the Western conception of the principles. Yeah, so there is no strict definition of any of the concept. They say Indian secularism is based upon the principle of unity and diversity. Okay, so see basic जो philosophical, let me just deviate from the question for a minute. So basically जो origin of the political thought है, which was in Greece through the writings of Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, what they basically did was they segregated the political sphere and personal sphere. ठीक है, सो जो पॉलिटिकल स्पीयर है वहां पे आपका जो इलेक्शंस होंगे, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस होंगे, ऑल दोज वेर इन दैट, सिटीजनशिप, देन लॉ मेकिंग, एग्जीक्यूशन, एडजुडिकेशन वेर ऑल in the political sphere. And the second, in personal sphere, they kept the religion, women, etc. And that segregation was followed in the constitutions of all the Western countries. But India doesn't follow that segregation. Okay, be it in our reservation system, be it in our secularism principle or universal adult franchise, जो भी है, we don't go for that strict separation. And even at present, the Western countries also are facing the major crisis. Okay, US में also there is a discrimination. I'm not able to recall the name of that black person, but there were huge protest, Black Lives Matter related. ठीक है? Yes, Floyd. Even the right to vote to women. India was ahead of the Western countries in granting right to vote to the women. ठीक है, यूएसए में वगैरह भी इंडिया के बाद में आया है. तो दैट स्ट्रिक्ट सेपरेशन जो है, it's actually the wrong conception followed by the Western democracies. Okay, so this is basically for the interview. When we take one-on-one session with the interview candidates, there we tell them if they ask you this question, whether India should go for the secular principles of the US or France. Okay, so you have to take a stance. No, ours is better than theirs. Okay, so in many aspects, India is more mature democracy than even the Western democracies. Be it our electoral process, be it the most significant aspect where India has shown the highest level of the maturity is the transfer of power. US में भी transfer of power has not always been peaceful. जैसे ट्रम्प का फर्स्ट टर्म एंड होने के बाद देयर वेर ह्यूज प्रोटेस्ट. उनका जो कैपिटल था, जहाँ पे उनकी पार्लियामेंट होती थी, उसी में प्रोटेस्टर्स घुस गए थे. ठीक है, इवन इन यूके ऑल्सो यू हैव सीन इट समटाइम्स. और यूके ऑल्सो, फ्रांस ऑल्सो, यू आर सीइंग द पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी. लास्ट वन डिकेड में इनके 8 to 9 प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स हो गए. ठीक है, हमारे एक ही बैठे हैं. तो in terms of that, we are more mature a democracy than even the Western countries. So इतना डिफेंसिव होने की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है, we have our drawbacks, but our principles are more sound than theirs. ठीक है, so this.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next, India is positive. Yes, US is negative. Secular India is positive. Harsh, tell me how you are going to generate the points in India as a secular state. Use the framework. Yes, Harsh, you can unmute.
Yes, sir. Sir, before that, I wanted to ask you, can we add one more point, like after the India as a secular state, like what are the factors which are undermining this principle? Like 3 or 4 points.
ठीक है, मतलब बेसिकली यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिस्कस है तो 70-30 यूज करो.
Hmm.
ठीक है, सो अगर उसको करना भी है तो यू गो इट एट ईयर. बट उससे क्या होगा कि इफ यू आर गिविंग द चैलेंजेस, यू आल्सो हैव टू गिव द वे फॉरवर्ड.
Hmm.
राइट, सो अगर आपको करना ही है तो यहाँ पे यू मेक अ टेबल ऑफ challenges and way forward. ठीक है, you can do it.
Hmm.
That's completely fine.
Now coming to the content part, like we can start with this kind of evolution. Like we
Origin.
had this secularism principle like back in Ashoka's time, like or most recent we can talk
नहीं
about
नहीं
Gandhiji
नहीं,
principle of
recent.
Sarvodhar Sambhav,
हाँ, गांधी जी का
and
प्रिंसिपल ले
then
लो. यस.
hmm, and then we can move to the constitution provisions. And then judiciary interpretation of like secularism is a basic structure
फर्स्ट यू
doctrine.
टॉक अबाउट द ऑब्जेक्टिव. ठीक है, you talk about the nature and scope, and then you come to the judicial interpretation, and then legislative कोई आपके प्रोविजंस हो गए, तो जैसे ट्रिपल तलाक हो गया.
Hmm.
ठीक है, वो उतने सफिशिएंट है पॉइंट्स. देन comparison with the US. So do we have any similarities with the US?
So,
What is the core principle of secularism? Is it liberty, equality, or justice? Secularism is related to which concept? Yes. Secularism is basically related to equality. Secularism होता ही क्या है? Secularism is basically there should not be any discrimination based upon the religion.
hmm.
ठीक है, सो जो सिमिलैरिटीज आपकी होंगी वही तो. इक्वालिटी के कौन से होते हैं आपके प्रिंसिपल्स? नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन.
Discrimination.
ठीक है, फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन. व्हाट एल्स? लिमिटेड और upholding constitutional morality. फिलोसॉफिकल पॉइंट जनरेट करते हुए हमेशा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी के पॉइंट्स आप दे सकते हो, ठीक है। देन व्हाइल गिविंग द डिफरेंसेस, how will you generate the points? Again, using the same
It's
framework. Yes.
like equidistant, like India, like equidistant thing, or just the strict separation from state and religion.
Yeah, so basically, you talk about first
Mm.
nature. कि India has the positive, US has the negative, right? Second, you talk about the religion and state relation, कि where India has the principled distance, and US has the complete separation. ठीक है, इन दोनों के बीच का डिफरेंस समझो, प्रिंसिपल डिस्टेंस एज इन कि इफ state is doing to reform something, it has to do for all the religions. Or if state wants to associate itself with any religion, it has to incorporate all the religions. तो जैसे अब अगर आपने देखा होगा तो इनॉग्रेशन ऑफ द न्यू पार्लियामेंट, सो while डूइंग द इनॉग्रेशन ऑफ द न्यू पार्लियामेंट, जो हर एक अब के रिलीजन्स थे, हिंदुइज्म, बुद्धिज्म, जैनिज्म, क्रिश्चियनिटी, दिस इस्लाम, या फिर जो भी थे, उन सारे के आपके जो सेंट्स थे वो आए थे, एंड दे चैंटेड ऑल ऑफ देयर, उनके जो भी रिलीजियस ये होते हैं, क्या आप कह सकते हो, उनके सॉन्ग्स या फिर जो भी मंत्र होते हैं हर रिलीजन के, सो वो सारे किए. सो दैट इज द प्रिंसिपल डिस्टेंस, कि हम वी आर हैविंग द इक्वल डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम ऑल द रिलीजन्स, और वी आर ट्रीटिंग ऑल द रिलीजन्स इक्वली. यहाँ पे स्ट्रिक्ट सेपरेशन है. अगर उन्होंने नया पार्लियामेंट अगर यूएस में हुआ तो देयर वोंट बी एनी रिलीजियस सेरेमनी, ठीक है. तो दैट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन टू. देन यू टॉक अबाउट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेसिस. सो इंडिया की अगेन 42nd अमेंडमेंट एडेड इनटू प्रीएम्बल, एंड देन आर्टिकल 25 to 28. In US it was added by first amendment, or there is no explicit mention. India has the explicit mention in preamble, US doesn't. Then you talk about role of, same points as previous, role of state. So India may role of state is active in judicial reforms, sorry, in reforming the religions, Triple Talaq Act. Whereas या फिर this वो कौन सा एक्ट था, स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट वाज देयर, राइट. एंड यहाँ पे पैसिव एंड न्यूट्रल रोल ऑफ स्टेट. देन यू हैव दिस स्कोप, ठीक है. सो स्कोप में क्या है यहाँ पे, इंडिविजुअल प्लस कलेक्टिव राइट्स. जैसे एग्जांपल आपका आर्टिकल 29 and 30 along with individual rights. So article 25 is for the individual right to profess, practice, propagate religion, and article 26 right to establish religious institution, that is the collective rights. Whereas in US it is mostly no, it is completely individual rights only. So that is the scope. Then you talk about the objective, right. So objective क्या है इंडिया के, इसका यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी, right, and multiculturalism. Whereas US का क्या है कि separation of state and religion, ठीक है. Then judicial interpretation, कि secularism is the basic feature in which judgment, yes, yes, abolition of untouchability, that will come in equality. आप रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म्स में आप दे सकते हो, यस। एक्टिव रोल ऑफ स्टेट में यू कैन ऐड आर्टिकल 17। इन विच जजमेंट जुडिशरी हेल्ड सेक्युलरिज्म एज द बेसिक फीचर? यस, SR बोम्मई। ठीक है, देन यहाँ पे भी बेसिकली दिस इज द पॉइंट ऑफ सिमिलैरिटी कि यहाँ पे दे हैव एड द इमर्सन जजमेंट which held strict separation of power और strict separation between religion and state। ठीक है, ये हो गए आपके, so आपके similarities हो गए, differences हो गए, and then at the end you provide the brief challenges। ठीक है, in way forward, so challenges will remain common। ठीक है, secularism, yes, शिरूर मठ case also you can add essential religious practices। अब चैलेंजेस एंड वे फॉरवर्ड दोनों के कॉमन चैलेंजेस आप क्या आएंगे? क्या आएंगे? राइज ऑफ रिलीजियस ऑर्थोडॉक्सी। एग्जाम्पल, मॉब लिंचिंग। सेकंड, पॉलिटिसाइजेशन ऑफ रिलीजन। राइट। थर्ड, इकोनॉमिक डिप्राइवेशन ऑफ माइनॉरिटीज। या फिर फोर्थ, यू कैन ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट राइजिंग एंटी इमिग्रेशन and minority sentiments। Rising anti-immigration and anti-minority sentiments, ठीक है, in both US and India। Way forward you give कि ensuring, और वे फॉरवर्ड में सबसे पहले तो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड इन इंडिया, प्रमोटिंग सेकंड कि रिलीजियस, these all points will come in the communalism also, and when we will do it in society, but religious communications to build trust। देन यहाँ पे इंश्योरिंग रूल ऑफ लॉ। ठीक है, ये तीन ही वे फॉरवर्ड दोनों को कॉमन आएंगे, बाकी तो इंडिया स्पेसिफिक आएंगे। एंड आफ्टर दैट यू गिव दी कंक्लूजन। ठीक है, इन कंक्लूजन अगेन सिंपली यू कैन मेंशन कि बोथ यूएस एंड, जैसे ये वाला हमारा जो था कंक्लूजन, दिस both US and India uphold secularism as the democratic ideal and basic feature of the constitution, though their the basic tenets and the implementation mechanism differs। Same conclusion you can use। ठीक है, या फिर अगर आपको देना है फर्स्ट हाईलाइट द सिमिलैरिटीज कि बोथ इंडिया एंड यूएस have the diversity and pluralism which can be protected through strong secular, social and political fabric। ये थोड़ा वे फॉरवर्ड टाइप हो गया। सो वन इज द स्टैटिक विच वी यूज्ड इन द लास्ट क्वेश्चन, उसी को आप रिफ्रेश कर सकते हो, या फिर दिस इज थोड़ा सा वे फॉरवर्ड टाइप कि as both India and the US are the diverse and plural societies, a secular social and political fabric is needed to ensure, or is needed in line with the कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इथोस। ऐसे भी आप रिफ्रेश करके यू कैन गिव द कंक्लूजन। ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर ये वाला? विल यू बी एबल टू राइट और फिल द पेजेस? 3 पेजेस आ जाए। यस, सैलेड बाउल मॉडल इज इंडिया एंड यूएस इज द मेल्टिंग पॉट मॉडल। ठीक है, अगेन ये दोनों का डिफरेंस है। यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस कंसेप्ट? ये अपन सेक्युलरिज्म जब करेंगे तब आएगा। बट देर आर टू मॉडल्स, वन इज द मेल्टिंग पॉट एंड सेकेंड इज द सैलेड बाउल। ये मेल्टिंग पॉट में क्या होता है कि वॉट एवर इंग्रेडिएंट्स यू पुट, दे मेल्ट एंड फॉर्म अ यूनिफॉर्म सब्जेक्ट। राइट, कि अब सपोज आप जूस बना रहे हो तो जूस में इफ यू पुट 4 डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ द फ्रूट्स, अल्टीमेटली देर दे विल लूज देयर एग्जिस्टेंस। 4 डिफरेंट फ्रूट्स नहीं बनेंगे, इट विल बी अ सिंगल जूस। Right, so that is the melting pot. So in US, though the different communities go there, but ultimately they adopt to the US culture. Okay, that is melting pot. So even if an Indian went into US, a Chinese went into US, or even an Arab went into US, ultimately they will adopt to the US principles of liberty and they will follow the US model. But in India, we have the salad bowl model कि आपके अगर 4 फ्रूट्स है तो इन सैलेड यू विल बी हैविंग 4 डिफरेंट फ्रूट्स, वो सिंगल नहीं होगा। दैट मीन्स इन इंडिया each one will be having his distinctive identity and each one will be following his own or her own culture. So that is the salad bowl. So US is melting pot, India is the salad bowl. ये डिफरेंस है। ठीक, सो ये वाला आप लिख पाओगे? यस। जस्ट अ सेकेंड। ठीक है, आफ्टर दिस वी हैव मेजरली 3 क्वेश्चंस ओनली, वी कैन डू इट टुडे ओनली। So you take 12 minutes and try to write it. Yes, Swati, you can unmute.
Can can we write what India can learn from what US can learn from Indian secularism before concluding?
नहीं, पूछा नहीं है। ठीक है, see, secularism
Okay,
is
sir.
a concept ki where
Sir,
both
actually,
India
there was a
and
question. Yes, sir. There was a question, a previous year question where there was asked what France can learn
what
from Indian
France can
secularism.
learn. तो France का मॉडल अलग
Yes,
है ना,
sir.
France has the very strict separation. And again, that was
Okay.
asked in context of the current affairs because in that year they put a ban on wearing burqa in public places.
Okay,
So
sir.
that
Thank you so
becomes
much.
a huge controversy. So in that context they asked. ठीक है, यूएस का
Okay.
मॉडल और इंडियन मॉडल आर मोर और लेस सिमिलर।
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. So you start writing this. You have time till 7:10, and after that we'll do 3 more and 2 assignment questions. Try to fill all the 3 pages, guys. And please turn on the camera, please. That's a request. Yes, Uday.
Sir, in the economic deprivation of minorities, the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has said something in a report, or uh, we should mention that the
What?
first right of the first right goes to the minority.
No need to write that.
No need to.
No,
Okay.
थोड़ा controversial statement भी था.
Okay.
We need to avoid the controversial statements.
Okay.
Okay. Is it done? Uh, Again, don't write anti-conversion law. Again, that can be controversial one because the intent of the anti-conversion law is good. Because it doesn't outrightly ban the anti-conversion law, conversion. It bans the forceful or manipulated conversion. No, तो वो थोड़ा सा there is no issue with respect to the law itself, but the issue is with respect to the implementation of it. So avoid that point. ठीक है, हो गया सभी का? Yes, good. Yes, give me confirmation. Good, perfect. Chalo. The next one is again, if you see the model answer also, key starting with the definition of the secularism, separation of religion from the state, and equal treatment of all faiths. Then, while Indian constitution follows the principal distance, US constitution strict to all of separation. India has a secular state, constitutional basis, objective, its core features. Core features may basically I have given the articles only. Okay, 25, 26, 28, that and positive secularism. So state can intervene in religion to uphold social reform and equality. Example, abolition of untouchability, Temple Entry Act, SR Bommai, upheld secularism as the basic feature. Okay. Then similarities with the US secularism, constitution, same points, constitutional guarantee, India and US, no state religion. Both US and India doesn't have the official state religion, religious freedom, freedom of conscience, belief, worship, equality before law, that is non-discrimination, judicial enforcement, then protection from religious domination, and democratic pluralism. 7 points I have given. It's completely fine even if you write 5 or 6 out of this. Okay. Then the differences: nature, positive, negative, state religion relationship, principal distance, complete separation wall, constitutional basis, role of state, active and reformative, passive and neutral. Here you can add the example also. Triple talaq. Then scope, collective as well as individual rights. यहाँ पे majorly individual rights to liberty. Judicial doctrine, SR Bommai, secularism as the basic feature. Emerson, wall of separation. Objective, social harmony, religious equality, unity in diversity. यहाँ पे individual freedom of conscience and strict separation. And then societal context, that is the historical evolution. So evolved in multi-religious and plural society. Or you can give the context in a way ki emerged in context of the partition or freedom movement legacy and horrors of partition. ठीक है? And then evolved in predominantly Christian but liberal society. या फिर यहाँ पे भी based upon the enlightenment ideas and Renaissance ideas. ठीक है? US mention God, but God is there in all religion. US doesn't mention Jesus. Jesus mention करता तो वो Christian हो जाता. God is there in all religions ना. ठीक है? ऐसे. And then either way forward type या फिर Similarities and differences. Indians is inclusive and reformative, suited to plural society. US model is exclusionary and separationist, reflecting individual liberal tradition. So similarities, differences का summarize you can give या फिर way forward type. Okay. The next, प्रेसिडेंट पावर टू पार्डन ये करने की जरूरत नहीं है. इसका मॉडल आंसर ऑलरेडी हैज बीन अपलोडेड. ये PYQ में आपको मिल जाएगा और नेक्स्ट ईयर ये आएगा भी नहीं. Yes. Now, with respect to this is a 10 marker question. What can France learn from the Indian constitution's approach to secularism? Who can give me the structure of this? Yes, Vasundhara.
So we can start with the definition of secularism in the intro, and then we can give a brief about the features of Indian secularism. No, that won't work. The difference we can start directly between France and India, and then we can give a SWOT analysis, in which we can because it is asking that what can France learn from Indian Constitution. So, and then we can jot the points that these are the values which can be
1 more way in which you can this particular question was based upon the current affairs in that year. There were lot of civil unrest. जैसे अभी मैंने presidential pardon में भी बताया था. You can give the contextual introduction. The pardoning power was in news and in controversy because of the Joe Biden pardoning his son. In 2019, so there was they put a ban on the wearing of burqa in public places. Okay, so recent controversy in France related to wearing of burqa in public places has raised the debate about the uh, Indian and French model of the secularism. So that can be contextual introduction. हमेशा जब rather than static, if you can provide the contextual so if possible, if there is a linkage of data points. Okay, so how will you generate the points with respect to differences? Who wants to try? Yes, Uday.
Sir, I would first start with the origin, historical context. There, I'll mention the French Revolution, because at that time it was combined, yeah, the peace and the peace class, and that's the reason they had a lot of revolution. So
Yes.
because of that, they had included separation of power. But ours, because it is a very multicultural country, like the Ashokas we have. So that's the reason we had this concept of unity in diversity. Regarding the constitutional provision,
ओरिजिन उतना पीछे का नहीं देना है. ओरिजिन यू गिव द जब हमने ऐड किया था इन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन Yes, so recent origin then while making the constitution.
Like a recent origin, because we had people of multiple religion and like that
Yes.
we can say.
हम्म, हम्म,
Uh,
ठीक है.
and the constitutional provision, the article 25 to 28 and the 42nd, the constitutional amendment.
हम्म,
France, I don't know.
हम्म. इंडिया का जो होता है उसी के थोड़ा सा अपोजिट दे दो.
Uh,
ठीक है.
and the nature and scope for this, it is very strict separation. For India, it's a bird eye view over the religion.
Yes.
Sorry,
ठीक.
that is the role of state. Role of state.
हम्म,
Uh,
ठीक है.
uh,
So these will be your points in the differences. Now, how will you generate the points in what France can learn from India?
we will take the positive things and the negative things of like the recent burqa ban. Will
No,
give.
no, only positives from India we have to tell. No? So what France can learn, you have to give the features of Indian federalism. Oh, sorry, Indian secularism, the significance of it. So how do you generate the points on the significance? Hmm? Yes. You can unmute. Hmm?
First I quote the Sarva Dharma Sambhava, the principle followed by India.
Tell me, how are you going to generate the points? Give me the framework.
They all religious paths are same to the same destiny. So equal treatment of religion in multi-diverse countries opt
ठीक है.
very much suitable.
No,
Then
not on the basis of the pies.
Indian secularism not only sir,
Mhm. No, no, tell me, how are you going to generate the points in that? I don't want the points. I want how you are going to generate the points. See, simple. How you are going to generate the points based upon the principles given in principles of secularism under Indian Constitution. So, pehla,
constitution,
what is the principles of secularism? Freedom of
freedom of
religion,
religions,
जो हमने पिछले क्वेश्चन में भी किया था, आर्टिकल 25, ensuring the culture. So France can learn that, or France can learn from India to protect the people's right to propagate, profess religion and practices. Okay. Second is Article 26, establishing religious institutions. So what is the purpose of that? To give them the freedom to manage religious institutions, to promote, यहाँ पे values डालना है, tolerance and inclusivity. Right. What is Article 27? Yes. What is Article
I
27?
can't remember.
Hmm?
I
Article
can't
20,
remember this.
Article 27 is state cannot impose the this taxes on religious places. It can impose the fines, etc. But even if you want to impose the taxes, it has to impose uniformly. So basically, that principle is non-discrimination on religious grounds. Fourth, again, role of state. So positive secularism, role of state in reforming religious practices and promoting constitutional morality. What else? So Article 29 and 30. So promoting okay. Article 27 is already there in France. So we can remove that particular point. Non-discrimination already है वहाँ पे. ठीक है. So state role आ जाएगा. Then Article 29 and 30 promoting the rights of minorities. So rights में कौन से cultural, linguistic,
Educational rights.
and educational. The rights of minorities. Then you come to the judiciary. So active role of judiciary in protecting secular fabric. Yes. Example is Sarvamai judgment. What else? Yes. So basically their model is negative, which is restrictive. So they put a ban on wearing of burqa. So promoting liberty, that is freedom over restrictions, to promote tolerance and social harmony. Yes, Manoj, anything else you want to add?
Sir, I have generated same points by using stakeholder approach, sir.
कैसे?
Sir, for citizens, guaranteeing rights by the constitution
Okay.
and civic sense among the citizen by respecting other religious
Yes,
faiths, sir.
but
Constitution,
what? ठीक है.
constitution guaranteeing the rights of the citizens. For legislative, making laws, example, triple talaq law.
But they already have uniform civil code in France. So you can't have that now. So that point won't be there. Because you
State
already.
active state active participant in example
Yes.
for Ganapati Visarjan using state forces. Judiciary, if the conflict among the religious, upholding the constitutional laws. Example, SF
That
Bombay case.
yes, with that also you can generate. And हमारा जो framework है, with the same framework also you can generate. So basically, when you have to highlight the positive aspects of India, so basically जो भी provisions है उन्हीं का significance हमें देना है.
Yes.
Right. So you have the secularism provisions from 25 to 30. Based upon
Yes.
that itself, you generate the significance of those, and then you already have legislative, executive, judiciary. उनमें से जो भी आपके points बैठेंगे वो बिठाओ. ठीक है. Then ये
Sir,
point.
can we give the negatives of the friends, how their secularism and adding our positive to them?
नॉट नीडेड, नॉट नीडेड, सिंपली यही दे दो, इतना सफिशिएंट है। ठीक है, दैट विल बी टू कॉम्प्लेक्स एंड इट इज अ 10 मार्कर क्वेश्चन। ठीक है, एंड देन यू प्रोवाइड द कंक्लूजन। यहाँ पे अगर और आपको लाना है तो वंस यू लिंक्ड इट विद द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी, सेकंड यू कैन लिंक इट विद द डेमोक्रेटिक एथोस जो हम कंक्लूजन में यूज करते हैं। ठीक है, सो प्रमोटिंग democratic ethos of pluralism, tolerance, and unity in diversity. Right? तो यही points आप, based upon these points only you can generate the answers. So basically when you have to give the significance of it, right? What can France learn, मतलब हमारे जो भी important aspects है और the principles of secularism, you have to give the positives of it. So इसमें जो भी हमारे provisions है, you give the significance of it. And second, you link it with the principles. So principles आपके कौन से हैं? Trinity of liberty, equality, justice, democracy, constitutional morality. जब भी आपको significance पूछा जाता है, so while writing the significance, one approach is the pestle one. So pestle से आपके अगर जनरेट होते हैं तो you generate the points using pestle, या फिर जो भी आपका फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन है, बी इट्स प्रोविजंस, फीचर्स, ठीक है, बेस्ड अपॉन दैट यू कैन जनरेट द पॉइंट्स। अब ये फ्रेमवर्क याद रखो व्हेन यू विल बी राइटिंग द आंसर्स ऑन एनी ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स, because generally they ask the questions on the government schemes. So when they will be asking the questions on the government schemes, what you have to simply do is उसके जो भी provisions है, based upon that provisions you can generate the points on the significance. First, second, pestle if applicable. ठीक है, yes, is it clear? Hmm? ठीक है, then next you simply conclude the answer. Both France and India have the pluralistic and diverse societies necessitating strong secular framework to uphold constitutionalism. ठीक है, is it clear? Is this answer clear? बस ये फ्रेमवर्क याद रखो कि while covering the significance, so you will be generating the points based upon the facts related to it and the principles, and the second is pestle. अब यहाँ पे pestle won't be applicable, apply नहीं होगा, but यही है। So this will be your answer. So secularism ensures neutrality of state towards religion while protecting freedom of belief and conscience. So this is France, strict separation, India positive secularism, वही हमारा introduction. Then France model of secularism and Indian model of secularism. This you can put it into the table also. Okay. I have given it separately just to give you one more framework. Okay. So it's not necessary always to write it in the table. Okay, you can give it separately also. Yeah. So why I have given this? Because This will occupy your first page and this will be on your second page. So आपको पेज फिल करने में भी ज्यादा डिफिकल्टी नहीं होगी. You can use a table also, that is also fine. ठीक है. And the same based upon non-recognition, non-involvement, that is strict wall of separation, then freedom of conscience but restricts public religious expression, या फिर simply strictly separates political and personal domain, aims to preserve the objective of it, republican unity and neutrality in public sphere, or to ensure, objective is to ensure uniformity in public sphere. Then Indian, again preamble, freedom of religion, then state intervention, positive secularism, basic feature है सर वो भाई. Lessons again, अब ये थोड़े से keywords I have added, but to generate the points मैंने अभी जो framework बताया, based upon that framework also you can generate the points. Yeah. Laicite is the name, that is the French name for the secularism. So reform oriented state role, that is active state role, multiculturalism, that is respecting cultural and religious rights and customs and promoting plurality instead of uniformity, freedom of expression, pluralism as a democratic strength, where I have linked it with democracy, then liberty and equality, then dialogue over restrictions, promoting minority rights. ठीक है. यहाँ पे आप ये भी लिख सकते हैं एक्टिव रोल ऑफ जुडिशरी. Then protection of minority rights through special provisions, India का article 29 and 30. And then in conclusion, yes, ठीक है कि secularism, again the summary जो हमने दिया है कि is not merely absence of religion in public life, which is France, but rather equal respect and peaceful coexistence under the state, that is India. ठीक है, ये सिंपल है. या फिर जो हमने यहाँ पे दिया है ये वाला, the pluralistic diverse societies necessitating strong secular framework to uphold constitutionalism. ये way forward type हो गया. So both the introductions are fine. Summary, way forward. ठीक है. So this answer you can write after the class. I'll discuss the remaining questions. Next, critically examine the procedures through which President of India and France are elected. Okay. So give me the structure of this. Yes. Who wants to give me the structure of this? Focus upon the directive here. Yes, Harsh.
So we can start with like the intro part, like how president here and in France are elected, and then like we can first or like through table, like we can distinguish between how what are the procedures, and then positives and negatives of both. Like what are the positives of Indian appointment, and similarly of the France.
ठीक है. So see, हमेशा I think in one of the question on judicial appointments also, there the similar directive critically examine the procedure of appointment in India and the US. There also I told you that don't provide the positives of India and the US. Rather, you make the positives and challenges of India, and then positives and limitations of the US separately. Right? Because the procedures differ, so their analysis will also differ. Right? So इसमें आप simply कैसे करोगे? So intro, you can talk about the precedent. ठीक है. So both France and India have the republican form of government with president as the head of the state. However, the nature and scope of powers of president differs in both. Okay, that will be your introduction. Then you simply give the procedure for election of president. ये दे दो इंडिया में, सेकंड इन फ्रांस. ठीक है. नाउ देयर आर टू अप्रोचेस. ठीक है. द वन इज कि यू गिव द हेडिंग क्रिटिकल एग्जामिनेशन. So first you give the India and इसके अंदर इसका significance and limitations. Second is France, significance. Yes. So if you see, there are two approaches. The one is this, where first you talk about the procedure and then you go for the critical examination. ठीक है. या फिर the second structure in which you can write the points is first you talk about the procedure. इसी में India, and along with the procedure you highlight the significance here itself. ठीक है. Same for France, procedure, significance, and then you go for the critical examination where you simply highlight the limitations of India and limitations of France. Both the aspects are fine. ठीक है. both the structures are completely fine. You can use any of the structure. Okay, I'm just giving you the different approach. So दोनों में से जो मॉडल आंसर मैंने बनाया, I followed this structure. You can write in this structure also. Both are fine. Now, while generating the points, ठीक है. This particular was also in news in 2022 itself. The French, or 21, I think, French presidential in case of India. First, constitutional article 53. Second, indirect election. Third, electoral college consists of elected representatives from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and state assemblies. And last, fourth, apart from the electoral college, indirect election based upon proportional representation. What else? Hmm. Yes. You can add eligibility and terms. Okay. And this is France, where first constitutional basis is Article 6. Then their election mode is the direct election based upon universal adult franchise. ठीक है. Third, कि voting system की president requires absolute veto. ठीक है. That is more than 50%. I am giving you the procedure. ये factual है. Based upon this procedure, you have to generate the points of the significance and issues, जो हमने पिछले क्वेश्चन में किया था. So absolute veto, and in case that is more than 50%, and in case none of the member has the absolute veto, ठीक है, then only in case none have absolute veto, only two candidates remain and votes are transferred. ठीक है, जो बाकी based upon the numbers, जो they also have the list system. ठीक है. So basic, not list system, but they have the two elections. In the first round itself, if the candidates gets the 50%, yes, they have the two elections. If in the first round itself, if the candidate gets more than 50% of the votes, he gets elected. If not, then only top two candidates recontest the election, and whoever gets the 50% of the votes will get elected. Okay, so that is their provision. This the voting pattern, and then eligibility and term. Okay, so again, French citizen, 18 years plus, and okay, that. Now, based upon these, we have to write the points of significance. So हमें यहीं पे significance लिखना है. ठीक है, उसी के नीचे. Based upon that itself, you have to generate the points in significance. So who wants to try? Yes. Yes. Who can give me the points on the significance based upon the framework that we learned in previous question? Hmm? Yes. एक भी नहीं. Principles is there, but how? Tell me the exact points now for each. So जैसे see, significance of the, it is given in the constitution. ठीक है. So article 53 we have mentioned, तो इसका significance क्या आएगा? Clear constitutional provisions. ठीक है. Indirect election. So president is the nominal head in India, right? President doesn't have any executive powers or the real executive powers. So as he is the nominal head, do we require the direct election of the president? No. So in line with the symbolic status and powers of president, right? Then electoral college में कौन से elected representatives vote into the electoral college? What is the significance of that? या फिर सिर्फ इतना ही लिखो, only elected members participate in election. ठीक है. दूसरा, स्टेट असेंबली के भी मेंबर, इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स टेक पार्ट, सो इट इंश्योर्स फेडरल बैलेंस. तो स्टेट असेंबली के भी पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, मतलब क्या हो रहा है? फेडरल बैलेंस आ रहा है, राइट? दिस इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ इट. देन फ्रांस, अगेन ठीक है, सेम पॉइंट आपको नहीं लिखना है. तो डायरेक्ट इलेक्शन इन लाइन विथ ड्यूअल एग्जीक्यूटिव स्ट्रक्चर, where president enjoys real powers. ठीक है. देन वोटिंग में क्या हो रहा है कि he requires more than 50% of the vote, so requires absolute मेजोरिटी। ठीक है, सो प्रेसिडेंट एंजॉयज एब्सोल्यूट मेजोरिटी। सो दिस इंश्योर्स द लेजिटिमेसी। ठीक है, इसी से आप पॉइंट जनरेट करो। सो बेस्ड अपॉन द फैक्ट्स दैट यू हैव, you generate the points on that lines, right? Then the direct election is there. So direct in election ensures direct accountability to people, right? Next, he has the fixed term like in the US. So fixed term ensures, जो हमने यूएस में भी दिखा था, ensures stability. Yes, strengthen participative democracy. Very good. That is the point also you can write. So based upon the facts that you have, you can generate the points on the significance. ठीक है? And similarly, in the limitations also, you can generate the similar readings. So criticism of, so in case of India, ठीक है? So president election is indirect. So he lacks popular support because election is indirect. Right? Next, he, अब यहाँ पे इन्होंने कहा है कि in case of the state also elected members vote, but are the value of votes of each MLA from every state is same or it is different? It is different, right? This is the static part from polity. So highlights asymmetric federalism. Value of votes of MLAs differ based on population. ठीक है, थर्ड प्रेसिडेंट के पावर पे दे दो लिमिटेशंस में, ठीक है, कि प्रेसिडेंट इज द सिंबॉलिक अथॉरिटी, या फिर आपका जो प्रोसीजर है विच इज दिस की proportional representation with single transferable vote, so that is highly complex system of voting and counting, right? ये clear है? Yes. Similarly in case of the France, तो यहाँ पे direct election, ठीक है, so basically they have the dual executive, so they have the multiple elections, one is for the parliament and second is for the president, right? So that, and secondly यहाँ पे भी in case of failure to get the absolute veto there is the re-election, ठीक है, so it results into multiple elections, ठीक है. Second, because of the direct election, so personality based campaigning gives rise to the trend of authoritarianism, right? Personality based campaigning is the feature of presidential system, so that cost of double, yes, cost of double re-election increases, yes, so cost also increases, ठीक है. Then this key, अब यहाँ पे they have the system of cohabitation, कि वहां पे जैसे मैंने कहा कि दे आर द ड्यूअल एग्जीक्यूटिव वेयर बोथ प्रेसिडेंट एंड प्राइम मिनिस्टर एंजॉयज द not equal powers, but there is the division of power between president and prime minister. So both have real powers. So that system is called as the cohabitation system. Remember this word. ठीक है, cohabitation, where powers are shared between president and prime minister. ठीक है, so cohabitation risk in case president and PM are from different parties. ठीक है, then you get the conclusion जो हमारा सिमिलर है कि बोथ दो इंडिया एंड फ्रांस आर रिपब्लिक्स द इलेक्शन प्रोसीजर differs based on historical and political factors. ये आपका कॉमन इंट्रो कंक्लूजन हो सकता है. So this is how you generate the points. Are you able to understand this? How I am generating the points? Okay, it's nothing. It's just playing with the keywords. If you have the vocabulary, just focus upon the. If it is same as intro, then ठीक है. थोड़ा सा उसी को रिफ्रेश करो, ज्यादा कुछ नहीं है. What is the introduction that we have given? Okay, we have talked about the both are the Republican form of government, no? ठीक है. So यहाँ पे you go for the summary. ठीक है, summary की Indian or the procedure of election in India is aimed at maintaining political neutrality and federal balance. Yeah. Whereas French model is based on or ensures democratic legitimacy through direct election. Yeah. Why you can go for the summary. ऐसा ये clear है. Are you able to understand how we are going to how we are generating the points? Okay, initially it will be difficult, but if you practice again and again, ठीक है? Yeah, so just remember this, and this is how your answer will look like. ठीक है? So President of India serves as the constitutional head of state and symbol of national unity within parliamentary democracy. The President of France is both head of state and key executive authority in semi-presidential system. And their election procedure reflect differing nature of their political systems. This is the one way. या फिर second जो हमने भी किया था, both are republic with elected head of state. However, the procedure of election differs and is in line with the डिफरिंग नेचर ऑफ देयर पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम्स। ठीक है, ये आप सिंपल इंट्रोडक्शन भी दे सकते हो। यस, देन प्रोसीजर फॉर इलेक्शन, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेसिस आर्टिकल 54, इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज, वोटिंग सिस्टम, ठीक है, वोट वैल्यू, एलिजिबिलिटी, टर्म 5 years एंड सिग्निफिकेंस। सो जैसे सिग्निफिकेंस अगर आप देखोगे तो वोटिंग सिस्टम इनडायरेक्ट, सो इनडायरेक्ट इलेक्शन इज रिलेवेंट as president is nominal head. Then federal balance is maintained based upon values, right? And only elected members participate the elections. Then procedure, constitutional basis, Article 6, mode, direct universal suffrage, voting system, two-round majority system, must secure 50% votes. Otherwise, runoff between top two in the second round. Again, term 5 years, एलिजिबिलिटी, सिग्निफिकेंस की अकाउंटेबिलिटी। अब ये डायरेक्ट इलेक्शन इंश्योर्स अकाउंटेबिलिटी। सेकंड, प्रेसिडेंट एंजॉयज एब्सोल्यूट मेजॉरिटी। थर्ड, सिक्योरिटी ऑफ टेन्योर इंश्योर्स स्टेबिलिटी, लाइक इन केस ऑफ द यूएस। तो उसी से आपके सिग्निफिकेंस के पॉइंट्स आएंगे। देन क्रिटिसिज्म, अगेन इनडायरेक्ट इलेक्शन लिमिट्स पॉपुलर लेजिटिमेसी। Then value of votes differs as it is based upon population. So this creates federal imbalance. And symbolic authority. President office reduced to formality under parliamentary control. And then procedure for election. Personality-based campaigns overshadow policy debates or gives rise to authoritarian tendencies. Example, you can give Lee Payne. Okay. And cohabitation risk. President and prime minister from different parties may create policy deadlock. जैसे अभी हो रहा है फ्रांस में। In recent times, you are witnessing the policy deadlock in France. And then over centralization of power in executive, especially under the strong presidents. In conclusion, you can give the summary. ठीक है? Is it clear? This answer you have to write after the session. ये clear है? Any doubts in this particular question? So now, even if the content is very limited, ठीक है, you can stretch it for 3 pages. 3 नहीं तो नहीं, at least 2.5 pages तो आप लिख के आराम से आओगे। ठीक है, बस just remember this framework of the analysis. Based upon the factual information that you have, you will be able to generate the points. ये clear है? No doubts? Okay. The next question is, ठीक है, what we'll do is we'll write this particular answer. I want you to write, and remaining 2 answers we can start in next session. I think next session is tomorrow only. No, tomorrow we'll be starting with governance. So first we'll do these two and then we'll move on to governance, because कल governance के 5 ही questions है वैसे भी. Yes. So you have 12 minutes. It's 8:08. You have till 8:20, and you write this answer. Okay, all of you turn on your cameras, write it. Then I will do the brainstorming on the next question and we'll stop today's session. Till 8:20. Please turn on the camera. Yes.
Sir, I'm unable to finish the answer within time. It's taking almost a
That's
lot
fine.
of time.
Take 1-2 more minutes and write it.
No, I'm not talking about this answer. Like in general, also it's taking much more time.
Yes, that requires the practice. No? So without practice and content consolidation, you won't be able to write. I gave my own example also. So when I attempted my first test in 3 hours, I was able to attempt only 9 questions. But after that, within 1 month itself, I attempted 12 more tests. After that, I could able to finish the answer in 3.5 hours, able to finish the paper. So it takes time and lot of practice. उसी के लिए you have to, even if we are doing 7 to 8 questions only in 3.5 hours, it is worth it. You have to write and you have to practice it.
And so this question, the brainstorming part, I couldn't understand. Like I was just trying to understand what you said, but I couldn't follow your mind and what you were doing.
Basically, the framework is when you have the facts. So the procedure for the election of president and the president of France and India, you know the facts, the procedure. So when
Yeah.
you are going for its analysis, based upon those facts itself, you have to generate the points. So for example, in France, you have the direct election of the president. So
Hmm.
direct election ensures direct accountability to the people, right? Because in India, we have the indirect election, so it lacks the or indirect election. It doesn't have the popular legitimacy. Okay, so based upon the provisions itself, you have to generate the points. And that is the framework. Okay. Yes, Gautam. ठीक है हो गया सभी का in case factual information other country normally you will be knowing the factual information just keep a tab on the current affairs properly so whatever the in IR section ठीक है इसमें से कुछ भी आ रहा है प्रेसिडेंट या फिर उनके लेजिस्लेचर रिलेटेड या फिर उनके जुडिशरी रिलेटेड ठीक है एंड बेसिकली वो पूछते ही तीन ही कंट्रीज पे है सो इन द एक्स फैक्टर वी हैव ऑलरेडी yes knowledge gap is there and that's why you have the x factor so x factor अच्छे से cover करो get the conceptual clarity from the class understand the frameworks gradually you will be able to write the paper on time and trust me कि even after the prelims you won't be able to write so for example I have a lot of in smash 25 I have one student Akash Goyal his rank was I think 112 or 117 he had 446 marks in the GS in 2024 but optional और इंटरव्यू में कम आ गए तो he became IPS इस साल फिर से दिया है उसने so he also was not able to finish the paper on time I have AR1 in IFOS Kanika this हाँ her name is Kanika Anab ठीक है she was also in smash she was also not able to finish the paper on time so initially जब आप लिखोगे तो you won't be able to finish the paper but practice जब आप करोगे जैसे कनिका ने after attempting the first she started writing in from last week of June last week of July so from last week of July till the 10th of August she wrote to all the 12 FLTs ठीक है when she will get rank this year we will upload her copies also सो कॉन्स्टेंटली प्रैक्टिस करते रहो ग्रेजुअली इम्प्रूव बस मुझे इतना बताओ कि इन द फर्स्ट लेक्चर और बिफोर द स्मैश PYQ इन व्हाट आपको जितना टाइम लगता था उससे कम अब लग रहा है कि नहीं इज देयर एनीवन हु यूज्ड टू राइट द आंसर इन 15 मिनट्स बिफोर स्मैश PYQ एंड नाउ ही इज टेकिंग 20 मिनट्स टू राइट द आंसर इज देयर एनी इंप्रूवमेंट और नॉट यस है कि नहीं है हाँ तो ग्रेजुअली अगेन इट विल कम डाउन ठीक है जस्ट फॉलो द प्रोसेस ट्रस्ट द प्रोसेस okay so this question we will do in the next session and this is your assignment question compare and contrast Indian and British approach to parliamentary sovereignty ठीक है briefly no if you write the answer first then आपको content तो रहेगा ही नहीं and second you won't be able to brainstorm so if I make you write the answer first and then I do the brainstorming then it won't be helpful because abhi after the brainstorming in 11 minutes you are able to write at least 2 to 2.5 pages but with that process you won't be able to fill even 1.5 page in 11 minutes you know so the process is very thoughtful. So thought देख के ही हमने ये process follow किया. Only thing is the time constraint. In 3.5 hours, we are able to do only 7 to 8 questions. But again, that is worth it. Okay. So okay, now this particular question. So here also in introduction, as this is a concept-based question, we'll go with the definition of the parliamentary sovereignty, and then similarity, differences. Okay. Now, how are you going to generate the points in this? Yes, who wants to give me the framework to generate the points? Yes. Again, question is related to the parliament. Yes, Sana.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, through the framework of legislative, executive, council of ministers, their
No.
power.
Yes. So ये जुडिशरी के भी हमने क्वेश्चंस या एग्जीक्यूटिव के क्वेश्चंस या पार्लियामेंट के भी क्वेश्चंस वी फॉलोड दी फंक्शनल अप्रोच ना
Yes, sir.
where we just give their powers and functions.
Functions.
So based upon that only we will generate the points. So what are the powers and functions of parliament? Lawmaking,
Yes. Lawmaking.
amendment, ठीक है. Then their powers are privileges, ठीक है. So based upon that only we will generate the points. So जैसे similarities कौन सी आएंगी आपकी? Privileges. Then power of constitutional amendment. Both the parliament of the US, UK and India can amend the constitution. ब्रैकेट करके सिर्फ इंडिया का प्रोविजन लिखो, आर्टिकल 368.
Eight.
ठीक है. देन नेक्स्ट, both have the power to make or amend the existing laws. ठीक है. Both have the bicameral legislation. हो गए आपके 4 पॉइंट्स, सफिशिएंट है. ठीक है. वेल फॉर डिफरेंसेस, अगेन the nature of Indian UK. So nature of powers, ठीक है, of parliament in India are limited. It is limited by basic
Accountability.
structure,
Basic.
doctrine, ठीक है, and rigid procedure for constitutional amendment. ठीक है. UK has the absolute power. Right. Then next, with respect to this the constitution,
Written and
we have written, they have unwritten. So this gives absolute power to parliament. Or simply you write parliamentary law becomes the part of constitution. And written constitution limits parliament's power. Okay, then judicial review.
yes.
Simply give the articles. So article 13, 32 to 26 and basic structure. यहाँ पे simply write limited judicial review. ठीक है. Then amendment. India's process is rigid. So simply write 2/3 majority and consent of half states. With this amendment is done with simple majority. right? That then the limitations तो और कुछ है नहीं, वही ये आपके यहाँ के पॉइंट्स हो जाएंगे, ठीक है. सो यहाँ पे इफ यू वांट you can write the objective also. So objective of this powers of parliament or limited powers of parliament in India to ensure constitutional supremacy. Here objective is parliamentary supremacy. ठीक है. If you want you can talk about the origin also. ठीक है. Origin. Key.
1935
The amendment procedure is taken from which constitution?
Act.
Hmm?
South Africa.
Yes. Amendment procedure is taken from Constitution of
South Africa.
South Africa or Canada. You just check it once. So origin ki borrowed from South Africa. Okay.
Yes.
And its origin can be, or its origin is based upon the parliamentary conventions या फिर मैग्ना कार्टा. ऐसे. So highlight the differences and then conclude कि both are parliamentary democracies, but while India goes for checks and balance, UK goes for parliamentary sovereignty. ठीक है. ये simple है. Based upon the similar framework, you can generate the point. So this is your first assignment question. This is your ये छोड़ो. And this is your second assignment question. This one we haven't written, no? कौन सा वाला हमने नहीं लिखा है? This one, right? Secular principles. Have we written this answer or not? Okay, what can France learn? Okay. This is your second assignment question. Okay. So attempt these two questions. In next lecture, we'll start with this. Because this is again thoda sa analytical question. It will take time. So these two are the assignment questions. With this, we'll start. Clear है? देखो कि basic from this topic is you have to understand कि you have to stretch the answer. Content is very limited in this topic because writing 3 pages on the single theme, procedure for the election of the president. ठीक है. Procedure for election of the president gets एक पेज में ही हो जाएगा even if you write it separately. So you have to stretch your answer and for that you will need the vocabulary. ठीक है. इसमें अगर आप टॉपर्स के भी आंसर्स देखोगे you will find the similar theme where questions are often or the points are often repeated. ठीक है. Only thing they have done is they have stretched. ठीक है. इसमें आप किसी के भी देखो if you see the मेधा आनंद आंसर्स also या फिर शक्ति दुबे के भी देखोगे तो पॉइंट्स काफी रिपीट हो रहे हैं और वो स्ट्रेच कर रहे हैं पॉइंट्स को. ठीक है. ये ठीक है. एनी डाउट्स? असाइनमेंट क्वेश्चन और दीज टू. वन इज compare and contrast British Indian approaches to parliamentary sovereignty. Second is What can France learn from Indian Constitution's approach to secularism? These two are the assignment questions. Yes, you can send it to your mentors. You have to send it to your mentors. Secondly, on the this on your Telegram groups, tomorrow morning I will send a message, and in the comment section of that message you can upload your answers.